dashed the last light on Blackridge Road. On the edge of a small coastal town in Maine, where the Atlantic wind carved secrets into the cliffs and the fog rolled in like a living thing, stood a house that no one talked about after sunset. It wasn't abandoned. It wasn't ruined. And that made it worse. The address was 17 Blackridge Road. And for nearly 20 years, every tenant who moved in left within 3 months. All except one. One? The house no one wanted. Evan Carter never believed in haunted houses. He believed in foreclosure notices. He believed in mounting debt. He believed in second chances. At 34, divorced, and barely holding on to his freelance architectural career, the listing for 17 Blackridge Road felt like fate. A 5-bedroom Victorian overlooking the sea for less than half its market value? In coastal Maine? It had to be a mistake. It wasn't. There were previous occupants who left unexpectedly, the realtor had said carefully. Left how? Evan asked. They simply didn't stay. No crime reports, no deaths on record, no structural damage, clean inspection, just a history of people walking away. Evan signed the papers within the week. He moved in on a gray October afternoon. The air smelled like salt and wet leaves. The house creaked as he carried in his last box, but old houses always creak. He told himself that. The interior was strangely untouched. Hardwood floors polished, antique chandeliers intact, fireplaces clean. It didn't feel abandoned. It felt paused, like it had been waiting. To the first night. The first sound came at 2:17 a.m. 3 soft knocks, not on the front door, not on a wall, on his bedroom door. Evan woke instantly. He lay still staring into the darkness. Another 3 knocks, slow, deliberate. He checked his phone. No notifications, no power outage. The house hummed with quiet electricity. Wind, he whispered. Blackridge Road was known for its coastal gusts. Old wood expanded and contracted. Pipes shifted. He got up and opened the door. The hallway was empty, but at the far end, near the staircase, the air looked distorted, like heat rising from asphalt. He blinked. It was gone. He didn't sleep again that night. Number 3, the neighbors. 2 houses down lived Margaret Harlow, 72, widowed, and sharper than anyone in town. You moved into Blackridge? She asked when he introduced himself the next morning. Yeah, beautiful place. She studied him longer than necessary. You planning on staying? Of course. She almost smiled. They all say that. Evan laughed politely. Look, I know the reputation, but there's no record of anything actually happening. Margaret nodded slowly. That's the unsettling part. What do you mean? No one dies there. No one gets hurt. They just leave like something asks them to. Number 4. The second week. It started small. Doors he closed would be slightly open. Lights he turned off would glow faintly at night. Cold spots in the hallway, always near the staircase. But the most disturbing thing wasn't the sounds, it was the dreams. Every night, Evan found himself standing in the same place at the top of the staircase, looking down into darkness. He wasn't alone. He could feel someone behind him, breathing, waiting. In the dream, he always wanted to turn around. He never could. Number 5, the discovery. The breakthrough came by accident. While renovating the attic, Evan discovered a narrow crawl space hidden behind warped paneling. Inside, he found a small wooden box. Inside the box were photographs, black and white at first, then faded color. Every photo showed the same thing, the staircase, taken from the bottom, looking up. In each picture at the top landing stood a person. A different person every time. Evan felt his stomach drop. The dates on the back spanned nearly 50 years, and the last photograph, it was recent, 2 months ago. The person standing at the top of the stairs wasn't facing the camera, but the build was unmistakable. It was him. Number 6, the research. Evan didn't call the police. He didn't call the realtor. He researched. Property records showed the house was originally built in 1891 by a sea captain named Arthur Whitmore. Whitmore had lost his wife and daughter in a winter storm when their carriage went off the coastal cliffs. After that, neighbors reported he rarely left the house. When he died in 1903, he was found at the bottom of the staircase. Official cause, accidental fall. Unofficial rumors, he wasn't alone in the house. Evan dug deeper. Every long-term resident of 17 Blackridge Road had reported the same recurring dream, standing at the top of the stairs, feeling watched. None stayed longer than 90 days, except one, a man named Daniel Reeves who lived there in 1978 for nearly a year. Daniel didn't move out. He vanished. No body was ever found. Now 7, the turning point. On the 42nd night, Evan decided he wouldn't be chased out by shadows. At 2:17 a.m., when the knocks came again, he was ready. He opened the bedroom door before the third knock finished. "Enough," he said into the hallway. Silence. Then footsteps, slow, descending the staircase. Evan felt something shift inside him, not fear, but recognition. He walked toward the stairs. Each step creaked under his weight. Halfway down, the temperature plummeted, his breath fogged in the air. At the bottom of the stairs, he stopped and looked up. For the first time, he wasn't alone. At the top landing stood a man in early 1900s clothing, pale, eyes hollow, not angry, not violent, just waiting. "You don't want me to leave," Evan whispered. The figure didn't move. "But you don't want me here either." A long pause, then Evan understood. The house wasn't trying to scare people away. It was trying to keep someone from leaving. It was trying to replace what it lost: a family, a presence, a witness. Number 8, the truth. Over the next week, the activity intensified. Mirrors fogged with fingerprints, whispers echoed through empty rooms, but something changed. The hostility faded. The house felt less threatening, more desperate. Evan stopped sleeping in the bedroom. He began sleeping on the couch facing the staircase. Each night at 2:17, the figure appeared, standing at the top, watching. One night, Evan spoke. "You're not trapped here, are you?" The temperature dropped sharply. "You're waiting for someone." The figure tilted its head slightly. "For her." The air trembled, and suddenly the image shifted. Evan saw a woman and a young girl standing beside the man, not as ghosts, as memories, frozen at the top of the stairs. The sea captain had built the house overlooking the ocean that took his family. He never accepted their deaths. He waited for them to return, and when they didn't, he waited anyway. For decades, using whoever entered the house as placeholders. Shadows of what he lost. 9, the choice. On day 88, Evan packed a suitcase, not because he was afraid, because he understood. The house didn't need another resident. It needed release. At 2:17 a.m., he stood at the bottom of the stairs. The figure appeared as always. "You have to let them go," Evan said softly. The air thickened. "They're not coming back." The staircase groaned violently. The chandelier flickered. Evan held his ground. "You're not alone because they left. You're alone because you're holding on." For the first time, the figure moved. It descended one step, then another. With each step, the air warmed slightly. At the bottom, the captain stood inches from Evan, and for a split second, his hollow eyes filled with something human. Grief. Then, the house exhaled. A sound like wind rushing through empty halls. The temperatures normalized. The pressure lifted. The figure faded. Not violently. Not dramatically. Like mist dissolving in morning light. The aftermath. Evan stayed, not out of defiance, out of curiosity. The knocks stopped. The dreams ended. The cold spots vanished. Margaret Harlow noticed first. "You look different," she said one afternoon. "Sleeping better," Evan replied. She studied him carefully. "And the house? It's just a house." For the first time in decades, 17 Blackridge Road felt lived in. Not paused, not waiting, just quiet. Number 11. 1 year later, the renovation was complete. Evan turned the attic into a studio. The staircase remained unchanged. He refused to modernize it. Some history deserved to stay visible. On the anniversary of his move-in, he found something new, a photograph, placed gently on the hallway table. Not old, not faded. It showed the staircase, empty, no one standing at the top. On the back, written in careful script, "Thank you." Epilogue. People still ask about 17 Blackridge Road. They still whisper about the tenants who left. They still mention the man who vanished in 1978, but no one talks about strange lights anymore. No one reports dreams. The house no longer waits. And sometimes, on quiet nights when the fog rolls in from the Atlantic, Evan sits at the bottom of the stairs and listens. Not for knocks, not for footsteps, just for silence. Because sometimes, the most terrifying thing isn't a ghost. It's grief that refuses to let go. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stay. Atlantic Ocean coastline. Case status unresolved. Public record classification. Missing person 1978. In October 2023, a freelance journalist from Portland filed a Freedom of Information request regarding a cold case from 1978, the unexplained disappearance of Daniel Reeves. The request was approved, But what came with the documents was something no one expected. A sealed envelope marked Blackridge Road, internal notes do not archive publicly. What follows is a reconstruction of events based on archived police records, property transfers, psychological evaluations, and interviews conducted between 1978 and 2024. This is not folklore. This is documented, and it still doesn't have an explanation. 1. The house that didn't stay empty in 1891. A retired sea captain named Arthur Whitmore built a Victorian home overlooking the Atlantic cliffs of coastal Maine. Town records confirm that in January 1893, his wife Eleanor and daughter Grace died when their carriage slipped during a winter storm and plunged into the rocks below. Their bodies were recovered. Whitmore never left the house again. In 1903, he was found dead at the bottom of his staircase. Cause: cervical fracture from a fall. But handwritten notes from the local coroner stated, open quote, position of the body suggests he may have been standing at the top landing prior to descent. No sign of struggle. Close quote. The home passed through 7 owners in the next 70 years. None stayed longer than 3 months. There were no reported crimes, no vandalism, no financial irregularities, just sudden departures until 1978. Mark 2. The Daniel Reeves disappearance. Daniel Reeves, age 29, moved into 17 Blackridge Road in March 1978. Occupation: high school English teacher. Marital status: divorced. Mental health history: none reported. According to neighbors, he was quiet but polite. On June 14, 1978, Reeves failed to show up for work. Police entered the property after 2 days. What they found? Wallet and keys on the kitchen table. Coffee mug half full, bed unslept in, front door locked from inside. No signs of forced entry. No blood. No struggle. But one detail stood out. In the hallway facing the staircase, a camera was mounted on a tripod. Inside it, a roll of undeveloped film. When processed, every photo showed the same thing: the staircase, taken at night, long exposure. In the final frame, dated June 13th at 2:17 a.m., there appears to be a faint silhouette at the top landing. The image was inconclusive. Case status: missing, never solved. Number 3. The pattern they didn't notice. From 1980 to 2020, 11 separate tenants lived in the house. Every single one left before 90 days. In 1994, a couple from Massachusetts broke their lease after 6 weeks. Their written statement to the property owner read, open quote, "We are not comfortable sleeping there. There are disturbances in the hallway at approximately 2 a.m. nightly." Close quote. In 2008, a software engineer documented temperature drops on a home sensor device between 2:14 and 2:20 a.m. over a period of 23 days. No mechanical cause found. In 2016, a retired nurse reported recurring dreams of standing at the top of stairs and feeling watched. She moved out on day 61. None of these reports were considered criminal. None triggered investigation until 2023. Number 4. The new owner, Evan Carter, purchased the house in September 2023 at 40% below market value. He was aware of the Reeves case. He didn't believe in paranormal explanations, but he did believe in documentation. Within his first week, he installed motion-activated hallway cameras, temperature sensors, audio recorders, sleep tracking software. For 16 nights, nothing significant occurred. On night 17, at exactly 2:17 a.m., the hallway camera captured something unusual. The footage shows the staircase, a visible shift in air density, similar to heat distortion. A temperature drop from 68 degrees to 51s in 12 seconds. A faint knocking sound 3 times the month. No visible person, no structural movement. Engineers later reviewed the footage. No editing detected. No environmental explanation confirmed. Number 5, the attic discovery. While repairing insulation in November 2023, Carter discovered a concealed crawl space behind attic paneling. Inside was a wooden box containing 23 photographs of the staircase, dates ranging from 1978 to 2016, all taken at night, all from the bottom of the stairs. Most chillingly, one photo was recent, October 14, 2023. Carter had not taken it. The image showed the staircase, at the top landing, a blurred human shape. Police were notified. No fingerprints on the box, no DNA recovered. Investigation reopened, unofficially. Number 6, the psychological angle authorities initially suspected. Sleepwalking, dissociation, carbon monoxide exposure, air quality tests, normal. Toxicology screening, voluntary, clean. Carter began documenting his sleep. Repeatedly, his biometric data showed elevated heart rate spikes at 2:17 a.m., but no conscious memory of waking until December 2nd. The 7th, the night he stayed awake on December 2nd, Carter remained awake intentionally. At 2:16 a.m., hallway temperature dropped. Audio recorder captured 3 knocks. Carter exited his bedroom immediately. He stated later in his recorded statement, open quote, "The air at the staircase looked distorted. Not smoke, not shadow, just pressure." Close quote. He walked to the bottom step. His body camera captured the staircase clearly. Then, for 1.8 seconds, the footage glitched, static distortion. When image returned, Carter was standing 1 step higher than before. He claims he did not move. Police analysis confirmed the footage was not edited. No explanation for time loss. 8. The final recording. On December 14th, Carter left a fixed camera aimed continuously at the staircase overnight. At 2:17 a.m., this was recorded. Audible whisper, unintelligible. Temperature drop. A shadow forming at top landing. Frame-by-frame analysis shows something resembling a man in early 20th century clothing. Enhancement specialists could not confirm human origin. Carter's final log entry reads, open quote, "I don't think it wants to harm anyone. I think it's waiting." Close quote. 2 days later, he removed all monitoring equipment. Activity reportedly stopped. 9. Official position. Local authorities have closed the reopened inquiry. Statement, open quote, "No criminal activity has been verified. All events remain unexplained but non-threatening." Close quote. The property is currently occupied. No further reports filed. However, internal notes include one line that was never released publicly. Open quote, "Pattern consistent across decades. Time fixed at 2:17 a.m. Staircase focal point. No aggression. Possible environmental trigger unknown." Close quote 10. The unanswered questions. Why 2:17 a.m.? Why the staircase? Why does no one stay longer than 3 months? And why did the only man who stayed longer, Daniel Reeves, disappear without trace? In 2024, a regional reporter from the Boston Globe attempted to spend 1 night in the house. He declined to publish his personal account. He simply wrote, open quote, "Some houses don't chase you out, they wait for you to leave." Close quote. Epilogue. As of today, 17 Blackridge Road remains legally ordinary property. No crimes recorded, no confirmed deaths beyond 1903, no official paranormal classification. But in the town records office, the file labeled Blackridge is thicker than any other residential property in the county. And every document across 126 years circles back to one place, the top of the stairs. At 2:17 a.m., the pressure to find an answer. By early 2026, the renewed attention around Blackridge Road had reached state level. What began as a curiosity tied to the 1978 disappearance of Daniel Reeves slowly turned into a reputational problem for the county. There was no murder, no proven crime, but there was a pattern, and patterns demand explanation. The Maine State Police Cold Case Unit authorized one final review of the Reeves file, along with a structural and environmental reevaluation of the property. This time, they approached it differently, not as a ghost story, as a systems problem. Number 2, the overlooked structural detail. A forensic structural engineer from Portland spent 3 days examining the home. His findings were unexpected and mundane. The house's staircase, original to 1891, sat directly above a hollow air shaft that had been sealed during a 1950 renovation. That shaft connected to the basement's original coal ventilation system. When strong Atlantic winds hit the cliffside at specific angles, pressure differences formed inside the sealed cavity. The result? Low-frequency infrasound vibrations, measured at approximately 18 to 19 hertz, below the range of human hearing, but not below the range of human impact. Ashra 3. What infrasound does to the brain? Research from European laboratories in the early 2000s demonstrated that exposure to infrasound around 18 hertz can cause anxiety and unease, a sense of presence, visual distortions in peripheral vision, mild dissociation, sleep disturbance, heightened dream intensity. One British study even documented subjects reporting shadow figures during controlled exposure. When the Maine engineers replicated wind conditions in February 2026, Instruments inside 17 Blackridge Road recorded identical low-frequency resonance at precisely 2:14 to 2:20 a.m., matching the historical reports, matching the 2:17 a.m. pattern. The staircase was not haunted. It was the acoustic epicenter. 4. Reopening the Reeves timeline. With this environmental data in hand, investigators revisited Daniel Reeves' disappearance in 1978. They examined weather archives. On June 13, 1978, the night before he vanished, coastal wind speeds peaked at 34 miles per hour from the northeast, exact direction required to activate the pressure channel beneath the staircase. Reeves' camera setup now made more sense. He may not have been photographing a ghost. He may have been trying to document what he was experiencing. Sleep disruption, distorted perception, a feeling of being watched. But that still left one question: where did he go? Now, Part 5, the cliffside search. In March 2026, ground-penetrating radar was used along the cliff area behind the property. 48 years earlier, search efforts had focused on roads and neighboring towns. No one had thoroughly examined the unstable cliff base directly beneath the property. On March 11, radar detected metallic anomalies beneath collapsed rock. A recovery team descended during low tide. They found corroded tripod fragments, camera components consistent with 1970s equipment, human skeletal remains. Dental records confirmed identity: Daniel Reeves. Cause of death: blunt force trauma consistent with a fall. Most likely scenario: Reeves, disoriented and sleep-deprived, went outside during high wind conditions, possibly to investigate sound or pressure changes, and slipped from the cliffside in darkness. No foul play, no abduction, no locked room mystery, just physics, isolation, and human perception under stress. Number 6, the psychological layer. But that wasn't the whole story. Investigators interviewed former tenants again, this time presenting the infrasound findings. Several reported relief. One former resident admitted, open quote, "I felt stupid for thinking something was there, but it felt real, completely real," close quote, because it was real. The fear was real. The sense of presence was real. The brain under infrasound stress can interpret subtle shadows as human shapes. It can convert pressure shifts into knocks. It can transform peripheral distortions into figures on staircases. And when multiple residents across decades share similar architecture and similar environmental triggers, their experiences align. Not experiences align. Neurologically. Evan Carter's closure. Evan Carter cooperated fully with investigators. When shown the engineering report, he reportedly sat in silence for several minutes. Then he said, open quote, "So it wasn't waiting," close quote. "No," the engineer replied gently, "it was vibrating." The monitoring equipment he had installed in 2023 had captured authentic phenomena: temperature shifts caused by pressure differentials, audio anomalies caused by structural resonance, camera glitches caused by electromagnetic interference during high vibration cycles. Nothing staged, nothing fabricated, but nothing paranormal either. In April 2026, the sealed air shaft beneath the staircase was professionally vented and reinforced. Wind resonance dropped by 87%. No further 2:17 a.m. disturbances were recorded. Horror 8, the Whitmore legend reframed. What about Arthur Whitmore, the grieving sea captain from 1903? Historical records confirm his wife and daughter did die in a carriage accident. They confirm he was found at the bottom of the staircase. But now investigators suspect something else. If the same infrasound phenomenon existed in 1903, unmeasured and unexplained, prolonged exposure combined with grief and isolation could have intensified hallucination-like experiences. A grieving mind in a vibrating house overlooking the ocean that took his family. He may have believed he heard them, seen them, followed a sound down the stairs one night, and misstepped. Tragedy built myth, myth built fear, fear built expectation, expectation shaped perception. Across 126 years. 9. Why no one stayed long. Most tenants left before 90 days. Why? Because chronic low-frequency exposure is exhausting. It disrupts REM sleep. It heightens anxiety. People didn't flee a ghost. They fled exhaustion they couldn't explain. Once the shaft was vented, a new tenant moved in during summer 2026. 6 months passed. No reports. No disturbances. No staircase stories. Number 10. The final file entry. The official closing note in 2026 reads, open quote, No evidence of criminal activity associated with 17 Blackridge Road beyond accidental death. Reeves, 1978. Environmental acoustic factors determined to be primary contributor to reported phenomena. Case closed. Close quote. There is no mention of ghosts, no mention of shadow figures, no mention of 2:17 a.m. Just physics, wind, architecture, and a tragic fall that waited 48 years to be understood. Epilogue. Today, 17 Blackridge Road is just another coastal Maine home overlooking the Atlantic. Tourists drive past without slowing down. The staircase still stands. But at 2:17 a.m., nothing happens anymore. No knocks, no shadows, no distortion, just wind moving through properly vented beams. Sometimes the most frightening mysteries are not supernatural. They are unsolved science. And sometimes the truth isn't darker than the legend. It's quieter and far more human.